Hello everyone, good morning, good evening, and welcome to the webinar of DevOps Containerization with Docker by Cognixia. All right, so let's get started. Okay, so Cognixia is basically one of the best institute in Middle East. So let me first talk about Cognixia, what means little bit introduction for Cognixia. What is Cognixia and why you need to choose this institute or training center for DevOps training. Cognixia is an award-winning training arm of Collabora. So this is the you can say it's a branch of that, right? It's a training branch, and it is delivered the training in more than 37 countries, and all it is more than 1 million professional trained worldwide. So you can see the trust of the students for for this training center. More than 450 clients across the globe, 4,500 plus trainers, and I am one of them. Best in class training on emerging technologies. If we talk about the awards which Cognixia has got these awards, which is the best workplace in emerging enterprise awarded by Great Indian Workplace Award in 2018, Mumbai, India. Best training provider of the year awarded by Golden Globe Tiger Award 2018. It's a World HRD Congress. Cognixia is awarded as training company of the year in 2018. Top 10 training companies for the second consecutive year in 2017 IoT India. World HRD Congress has awarded training in Asia, and it is the best emerging technology training organization at the Middle East Training and Development Leadership Award 2018. We are not only providing the training for big data, there are other technologies. We are on the top. Big Data Silicon India Best Training Center Provider, Hadoop Developer of Year 2016. Top 10 IoT Training Institute in 2016, Analytics India. Asian Training and Leadership Award, Dubai. Top 5 Emerging Technologies Training Companies in 2016, Silicon India. Top 5 Cloud Training Institutions in India 2016 with higher educations. Top 5 Big Data Training Institute in 2017, Silicon India. And top 10 Promising IoT Training Institute 2017, Higher Education. We are the authorized training partner globally for Red Hat, Automation Anywhere, ITL, ISC, and Silver Microsoft partner. So this is an introduction of Cognixia. So this basically makes your mind that when more than 1 million people, those who are getting trained with Cognixia, so it is one of the trustworthy training institute. Okay, so now it's the time for the question answer. Okay, so I can see that there are some questions. People are asking that how will this webinar help me? So this is basically the webinar of one of the topics which we are going to cover in our entire syllabus, that is Docker. So that will make your mind that technically how we are providing the training and what will be our way of teaching, as well as you will make your mind for that DevOps career because here we are going to discuss one of the important component of the DevOps, which is Docker containers. So let me just talk about the Docker now. So first, before coming to the Docker, let me just talk about the DevOps. So what is DevOps, how it is important for the industry level, and what is the role of Docker containers. So I will show you some demo related to Docker, where I will show you how to create the images, how to download the images, how to run the containers. So these things we will be going to discuss. But before coming to that, let me first talk about DevOps. So there are a lot of people who are asking that I'm fresher or I'm experienced in some other technology, and whether it's a right choice to jump to the DevOps. So that is absolutely a right choice. Whether you are a fresher, whether you are an experienced in other technology. The reason is because if we see the future of IT industry, then it is DevOps or your cloud computing or your data science. But when we are talking about the DevOps, it is basically for your infrastructure. So if we see the future with respect to the infrastructure, infrastructure means if you are a system administrator, then you know how to maintain the infrastructure. You should be responsible for maintaining the hardware, software, networking, this kind of stuff, right? Create the virtual machines, create the networking between the virtual machine, where to create the virtual machines. So all these things will be taken care by a system administrator. So when you are opting this course, at that time, you are not only performing these tasks, which is a system infrastructure related task, but you are making it automate. If we say the automation other name is DevOps, it should not be wrong. So whenever we are talking about DevOps, so DevOps is basically an automation process end to end. End to end means a developer is writing the code and developer is wants its code is to move to production, and it is to be properly monitored. And whenever there are some changes required, developer has to just push the changes. Everything related to that changes, uh, it is to be basically moved to the production, and this should be in the automation process or continuous process. So this way we are basically going to create the automation. So DevOps is basically a process to create this kind of automation. Some of the candidates, they are asking that do we is Jenkins or Ansible or Docker is DevOps? No, it is the other way. Whenever we are performing any automation, so say an example, you want to a build the code. So for that you use Maven as a build automation. But Maven is not only the choice. You have ANT, you have MS build. So it does not mean that Maven is an essential part of that particular DevOps process. It can be Maven, it can be Ant, it can be MS build. Similar way, if we talk about CI/CD process, which is continuous integration and continuous delivery or deployment, in that case, most the tool which we use, it is Jenkins. But is the Jenkins only choice? No. You can use the TeamCity also. So DevOps is basically creating a automation process. For that automation process, you need some tool. And these tools, according to your requirement, you use it. So in our syllabus, we are going to select those tools which are highly in demand. Okay, so if you, out of 100, if you say in 80% or 90% uh, industry, they are using these tools. So those tools are in our syllabus or in our course. Okay, so one of them is the Docker. So in today's webinar, we are basically discuss about the Docker only, Docker which is a container. Now, let me just talk about the container, what is container and how you can relate it with the real-time application. If I give you one scenario there where basically you are going to deploy a web application. So when you are deploying a web application, you need one web server. So that web server could be your physical machines, which is our traditional servers, or it can be your virtual machine. So to deploy my application, I need either of these servers. Okay. Now this web server is basically going to connect with a database server to fetch the data for the web application. So that is my database server, and there is a networking between web server and the database server so that they can connect to each other. Now, basically, whenever you are creating a virtual machines, right? So you need to use some virtual machine technology. You can use VMware. If you are practicing for training purpose, you use VirtualBox, VM player, right? So these all things you can use it. But whenever you are going to create a machine, even though it's a virtual machine, you need some hardware configuration for that. For example, if I want to create a Linux machine, a Red Hat Linux machine, then I need minimum 10 GB or 20 GB space, hard disk space. I need 8 GB RAM or minimum 1 GB. Okay, so but you can increase it as per your requirement. You need the number of CPUs, right? Minimum one, and other things. So when we are talking about to create a virtual machine, then this is the minimum specification for Red Hat operating system. Say an example. So so far, before containerization, we were talking about virtual machines only. But after this, what is the future of these virtual machines? So the future approach is Docker. Docker are very lightweight images. Docker are very lightweight images, which is hardly 100 MB, 200 MB, depends upon what image you are selecting. And not only that, you can have multiple or different types of images available. For example, you need a virtual machine where Java is already installed, MySQL is already installed. So such kind of images you can find free of cost on Docker repository, which is Docker Hub. So about the Docker. So Docker basically it's a virtual machine of your virtual machine. So an example, if you want to create a virtual machine and requires low latency support, before creating the Docker machine, you need 20 GB or 30 GB. Let me explain you Docker part one more time, that I was comparing it with the virtual machines. So in virtual machine, basically, if you want to create a virtual machine, in that case, you need a proper hardware setup. Means, say an example, if you want to create a Red Hat operating system virtual machine, you need at least 8 GB space, hard disk space, 1 GB RAM, one CPU, right? So all these things is required. But when we are talking about the Docker does not require all this. Docker image is hardly 100 MB, 200 MB images. On top of that, the other benefit of the Docker images is that you can find different types of images. For example, your requirement is something like that. You want an image, Ubuntu image with Java installation on that, MySQL installation on that, or you can create your own custom images. So just let us see the difference between the containerized application and the virtualization or virtual machine applications. So here on the left hand side, you can see this is my operating system. So if I see here, the on the at the bottom, you can see there is an infrastructure. So infrastructure means your hardware, right? So that is my infrastructure. On top of that, my host operating system. So what is my host operating system? My host operating system is my where my application is to run. Means for an example, this could be your Ubuntu operating system, your Windows operating system, your Mac operating system. It can be anything. On top of that, I am having the Docker engine. So what is Docker engine? Docker engine is basically where the communication between the Docker containers and the host operating system happens. On top of that Docker engine, you have Docker containers, and on containers, my application A, B, C, D. So these applications are your like your web application, your database applications, etc. These applications are running, and these are my containerized application. Whereas in the if we talk about the virtualization, you need to have infrastructure. On top of that, you are having hypervisor. Actually, here one layer is means you can add. So there are different types of virtualization. So it is one of the virtualization example. So it has hypervisor on top of that, or you can have host operating system, and on host operating system you are having the hypervisor, and on hypervisor your virtual machines are running, and in your virtual machine your applications are running. Okay, so this is the difference between the architecture of virtualization as well as container. Now let me just move to next slide. So what is Docker? Docker is a lightweight software containers and containerization platforms. Docker containers provide a way to run software in isolation. A Docker image is the foundation for any particular Docker container. What is outside container? Other containers, operating system kernel, and any other operating system software. So now you might be thinking that why Docker image is very lightweight and what that image is having. So the Docker images are like your operating system images. So you have Red Hat operating system image. You can have CentOS operating system image. You can have Ubuntu operating system image. But how that image can be very lightweight, 200 MB or 100 MB? The reason is that it is going to use the kernel of host operating system. The most of the space is occupied by kernel of an operating system. So these images when it runs, we call it container, and these containers uses the kernel of host operating system. Okay, so that is why these images are very lightweight. Okay, you can perform the networking between the Dockers. You can perform the networking between Docker and the host machine. You can maintain the Docker containers with the help of Docker Swarm. Okay, so there are different advantages are available for Docker. And when we talk about the Docker architecture, so it always work on a client server architecture. So here you are having one or more client and you have one Docker server. Okay, and these are basically some background images which are running and background services, sorry. So these are some background services which are running in the form of client and server. And we have the registry. So registry is basically where your images are available, your Docker images are available. So let me just show you that where these images are available. So for that, I'll go to my, so there is a website which is hub.docker.com. Okay, so this is the website where public images are available. Docker public images are available. So you need to have the account in. First you need to sign up if you are using Docker Hub first time. So let me, I think I have the account, but okay. Okay, so these all images created by me. So these are my custom image. So we will talk about this custom image in a little bit time. But first, let me find out the images which is already available, which is publicly available. Means for that you need not to have an account. So these images you can search it over in here. So I'm searching for Ubuntu. Is there any Ubuntu image? So if I press enter, okay. So let it search. Okay. So here you can see there is an Ubuntu image and it was updated 37 minutes ago. Means say update happened. So far 10 million downloads happened and 10K plus stars are given to this particular image. And if you want to see what it is, you can click on this image and you can see here what is the description of this, what are the supported tags. So here you can see it is 18.04, 19.10. So all these tags are available. You can download these versions. What is Ubuntu if you want to know about that? So that description is given here. What is in this image? What are the softwares will be already added or what will be the things which you need to know about this image? You can find it over here. Okay, and this is the license information. Now I want to use this image. So if you want to use this image, first you need to install Docker on your machine. So on my AWS account, I have created one Ubuntu virtual machine. So this is my Ubuntu virtual machine and I named it Docker. Now if I go to my MobiXterm, so MobiXterm is just like your putty. So I'm connected to this machine. So this is the machine through SSH. I am connected with it. Now, if you want to log in with a root user, you need to say sudo su or sudo I. So I want to install Docker on this machine. To install the Docker, first let me do one thing. Let me update the repository, apt repository. So apt update command. So this is my fresh machine where I want to install the Docker, and this is Ubuntu operating system. Okay, so throughout our training sessions, what we will do, we will create the virtual machines on one of the uh, cloud computing like AWS or Azure or Google Cloud. It is up to you, but I will mostly use AWS as the cloud platform. So here you can see I'm on my Ubuntu machine, and if I want to install Docker, so the command is apt install docker.io -y. So this basically install Docker on my machine. Okay, so it will take little bit time. Okay, so let's wait. Okay, so now the Docker is installed. So if you want to confirm that Docker is installed or not, you can run the command docker version. Okay, so with this command, you can see, okay, so maybe the spelling wrong. Okay, so you can see Docker 19.03.6 is installed, which is the latest version. Okay, but if you want to see what are the client or server version is installed, so you can run the command docker without hyphen version. So here you can see this is the client version, this is the server version. So everything I have installed it on one machine. So you can find the Docker engine related information here. Now, if I say Docker, I want to see what are the different images available for my Docker. So I can say Docker images. So you can see there is no image so far. Okay, so there is no image downloaded. Why we need the images? I need the images so that I can run my web application, Windows application, I can create my development server. So for all these purposes, what I will do, I will first download the Docker images. Then I will deploy some application on it. You can download any type of images which is available on Docker Hub, but that is not only the way where you can download the images. You can create the private registry, but I am not going to discuss about that private registry here. So here we will first concentrate on the Docker Hub. So Docker Hub is basically a collection of images which is created by a lot of people. So say an example, if you think that I can create an image and that image basically gives me the that image gives me the future that image I'm creating for the future purpose or for to share with the other people, then what you can do, you can put that image into the Docker Hub. You can create an account and you can push your image over there. That thing also we can do. Okay, so same way, lot of people have created lot of images and they are sharing, but there are some images which is created by Docker itself, and these are the trusted images. So say an example, as I have shown you here, this Ubuntu image. This Ubuntu image is the Docker official image. Okay, so you can trust it 100%. And as I have shown you, this is downloaded by more than 10 million people, and it is having 10K plus star. So now, if you see this Docker pull Ubuntu, so this is the command which you need to run if you want an image to download. So for example, if I say on Ubuntu, I want to use CentOS. So this is the CentOS image. And if I click the different tags it supports, and this is my, so you can click on this particular copy. So it copies to the clipboard. And now if I write here that command docker pull CentOS, what it will do, it will download the CentOS image from Okay, so here you can see images. So you can see there is an image sent to us, image is downloaded. And operating system. So what it will do, it will basically use the kernel of host operating system. Now let us see how to go in, how to run this CentOS image. Minus D, minus IT, IT is in interactive terminal, and minus D, and the image name. If you want, but I am using this image name. Then it will return one big number that is basically a unique state. When we run the image, that is called container. It is something like that you are turning on your virtual machine. So when you run the, you can run the command docker ps. So here what it is showing that this container is running. This is the name, this is the image which it is using. This is the shell which is used by this. This one status is up, and name. So name, it is giving some different, some weird name, but we can change that name also. But what I have done, I have created my image. First, I downloaded my image, and after downloading the image, I have, so what I have done, first I have download the image, right? And that image it get downloaded from Git Docker Hub, right? Docker Hub, where we have the collection of the images. Okay, so that image is CentOS image. But this CentOS image is my Docker image. This image is downloaded on my Ubuntu operating system. Okay, on Ubuntu operating system. So this image is downloaded, and here we have seen the command docker images. So this command basically returns what are the images you have downloaded, but it is not running. So when it runs, it's called the container. Okay, so once it is run, then it is called the container. So containers, whenever you are saying container, so container means the running image. Okay, so when we say images are running, that is called container. And the Docker is, whenever we are talking about Docker, we are always talk about images and containers. We will talk about uh, networking between the containers. We'll talk about networking between host and container. We'll talk about maintenance of the container. So everything revolve around the containers only. So what I have done, I have downloaded the image and I'm running that image. Now what I want to do next, I want to, this CentOS image is running. So this is running as a container now. Now I want to go inside this image container, and I want to check that what are the files and folder, can I install a software inside it? So all these things I want to do. So let us do that with the Docker commands. So here, what I need to do, I'm just saying Docker execute minus IT. So execute is basically going inside the container. Okay. Then you need to give the container ID. You can give the full container ID, or if you want to put 2 or 3 digits, that is also fine. Okay. Then you need to write that what shell you want to use. I want to use shell. So now I'm inside the container. So you can see I'm logged in with the root, and this is my container ID. And now the prompt is changed. Now I'm inside the container. If I say ls, so it will show me the files and directories which is in this container. Now whatever you want to do, you can do it. Means if you want to install a software, you want to copy something from your local machine to this machine, that is also possible. Now let me do one thing. Let me come out of this and let me download the image of Ubuntu as well. So the command will be docker pull Ubuntu. Okay, so it will download the Ubuntu image from Docker Hub. Okay, so the image get downloaded. So how to confirm Docker images? So you can see there is Ubuntu image which is get downloaded. And the size of image you can see it is 64 MB only. Okay, whereas if you are creating a virtual machine of Ubuntu, you minimum need 10 GB of hard disk space. Okay, but here you can see it is very lightweight images, and now if it is lightweight images, you can move it from one system to other system very easily. And that's what means those who implement the Docker in their production, they can do that. Means they share they can share these images, and there are a lot of other options. You can save it in a tar file, and you can load it into some other machine. So here my Ubuntu image is downloaded. Now I want to run it. So to run it, docker run -it -t. Okay, so there is one concept which is called the port forwarding. So what is port forwarding? So in port forwarding, because this Docker machine is running on top of my host machine. Now if I run the web application on this Docker machine, then what will happen? How can I access this? How I can access this particular website which is running on the Docker machine? There is an IP address is assigned, but without networking, you cannot access it. You need some communication with your host machine and the Docker machine. And in the end, I will use the port which is on my host machine. So say an example. When I run the Apache server on my container, then my web application is running on port 80. If it is running on port 80, so that port 80 traffic I want to share with my host machine on certain port. So that is what I'm going to do here. I'm doing a port forwarding. So in the port forwarding, basically what happens, you just put -p, and here I'm saying port 80 of my host machine should be mapped with the port 80 of my Docker machine. Okay, so Docker container means, I mean machine here means container. And I'm saying docker run -it -t, and which image I want to run? Ubuntu image. Okay, so now when I'm running, so Ubuntu image is running, and to check it, docker ps command. So here you can see now two images are running, means there are two containers. One is Ubuntu container and other is CentOS container. Let me go inside the Ubuntu container. So for that, docker execute -it, and I will use the container ID, right? And bash. So now I'm inside the Docker container Ubuntu. And here what I will do, I will say apt update commands. So I'm running the apt update command inside my Docker container. Now I'm saying apt install Apache 2. So I want to install Apache 2. So now it is getting installed, Apache 2 on my Docker container. Now because this Apache 2, which is running on my container, and I have done a port forwarding with port 80, then this port 80 of my container machine will be accessible with the port 80 of my host machine. So what it means? It means if I go to my web browser and if I take the public IP address and if the port is opened, then I can, if I run it, so okay, so looks like port is not open. Okay, so let me just check the inbound rules. Okay, so here is the security group. So, okay, port 80 is opened and open to everyone. Okay, so this is fine. So just let me do one thing then. This is the instances Docker. Okay, this is the correct IP address. Okay, so now let me just go it. Why? Because my service is not running. So if I say service Apache 2 status, I have downloaded it, but it is not running. So if I want to run it, then I will say start. Okay, so if I say status, now it is running. Now let me go back here, and if I refresh this, so you can see my Apache 2 default page is opening. Okay, so basically what is happening on my Ubuntu machine, which is a container, on that machine I have installed Apache, and which is by default it is running on port 80. And when I run this container, at that time I have mentioned the port forwarding, and that port forwarding is basically, I'm saying from of my host machine port 80 should be mapped to port 80 of the container. So on container on port 80, Ubuntu Apache service is running. So whatever the traffic we have on container, that we can access with our host machine. That is why when I have used my IP address of my host machine, it is opening the Ubuntu, it is opening the Apache Ubuntu default page. So this is how this is one of the benefits. So I'm just explaining for demo purpose that this is one of the, there are a lot of things you can do with the help of the Docker. Docker is very widely used in the DevOps world. Kubernetes is one of the topic which is, maintaining and securing our web applications, and these applications are running on some container. Okay, and Docker is the one which is very highly demanded in the market, and industry-wide it is widely used. Now let me just go back to my container. So this is the container, and if I want to come out of this container, I will write the exit command. Okay, I'm coming out of this. Now here, if I say docker ps, So you can see there are some containers running. If you want to stop a container, okay, so if you want to stop a container, so you say Docker and stop and then the container ID or container name. So I want to stop this container, which is CentOS container. So my container is stopped. So if I say Docker PS, so Docker PS command basically it shows the processes which is in the running state or containers which are in the running state. So only Ubuntu is in the running state and CentOS is in the stop state. But if you want to see all the containers, whether it is in the running or stop state, you can run the command docker ps -a. So here you can see CentOS is exited 32 seconds ago. If you want to start it again, you can just instead of stop, you can write start. All right. So if I say docker ps, now see both are in the running state. If you want to remove a container, then you can remove it, but you need to stop the container first. Yes, so whenever we are stopping the container, the services inside it also get stopped. So everything will get stopped. Okay. So if I say if I want that to kill a containers, okay. So kill and stop is same thing what it will do. Kill will also stop the container, stop will also stop the container, but kill is forcefully stopping the container. So say an example, if your job is or if your container is in the running state and it is not getting stopped, it is in the not responding mode, then what you can do, you can stop it, or you can stop does not work, then you can run the docker kill command. So same way here I can use the kill command. So kill command is basically stop, but when the container is not in responding mode. If I say docker ps here, now you can see CentOS machine is not visible, but it is in the exited state. Right. Now if you want to remove a container, you can remove the container. So you can say docker rm. The container is to be stopped first. Okay. So my CentOS container is in the stop mode. So I can use this container ID. Now this is permanently removed. So if I say docker ps -a, so you cannot see CentOS container. So whatever the data, the other things, everything will be go away. Okay. We can preserve that data. That is a different storage, Docker storage. Okay. Now, if I see my Docker images, so you can see these images are available Ubuntu and CentOS. So it means container, when you are removing the containers, images will not remove. You need to remove the images explicitly. So if I say docker rmi and CentOS image I want to remove. So now you can see image is also removed. If I say docker images, so you can see CentOS image is removed. Now let me try to remove the Ubuntu image. So if I say docker rmi Ubuntu, rmi for the removing the images, it will not remove because this image is used for one of the container. Okay. So that is why this image you cannot remove it. First, you need to remove the container. So if I say docker ps, now this container, one way is that you stop the container and remove it. That is the best way. But if you want to forcefully remove it, then the command is docker rm -f and your container ID. Now you need not to stop the container and it is removed. So if I say docker ps -a, so you will see there is nothing running. Right now you can run the command docker rmi ubuntu. Now there is no images, there is no container. Container you can see with the one more command docker container ls. So you can see there is nothing. Or you can say docker ps -a, there is no container running. Okay, so just let me check. Okay, so I see some of the questions related to this. If I host other versions of Apache in CentOS, and which application is to open? So if CentOS image, so see, so it depends that how you did the port forwarding. If you want to do a port forwarding, if port 80 is already in use, then you need to use different port of your host machine. Okay, so port number should be changed. Okay, and okay, anyone has any doubt, any question? Okay, so Hemant was asking a question. As we have installed Apache in the container, how can we share the port for that container? So you need to use the same command as I have explained, Hemant. That is for the port forwarding. So the command was, okay, so this is the command. So because you are using port 80 for your Ubuntu machine, now you need to use a different port for that. Okay, anyone has any question related to Docker or related to DevOps, anything related to your career point of view? How do we auto scaling in Docker? So auto scaling in Docker is a basically that we do with the help of the Docker Swarm. So in Docker Swarm, basically what we do, we create, we basically maintain the containers. So in Docker Swarm, we have a concept of auto scaling. So that I'm not demonstrating here today because that needs little bit more, some more topics to be discussed. But auto scaling is possible with the help of Docker Swarm. Which are the certification available currently in the market for the DevOps? So we have Ansible certification. Ansible is now a Red Hat product. We have we have Kubernetes, we have Puppet, so Docker. So all the tools almost are having their own certificates. So there will not be any session for ELK people. So Docker Compose. Yeah, so uh, Sheikh Wajid. So Sheikh Wajid is asking, can you give some benefit of Docker Compose? So Docker Compose is basically when you are maintaining multiple containers. So say an example, if you are saying that I want to maintain a container in such a way, there is a dependency between these two containers. They want to share the volumes. So that is one of the advanced topic of Docker Compose. So benefit is that basically we can create multiple containers and we can do the sharing with the help of volumes, with the help of some other dependencies. Can we run the Apache in two containers at the same time? You can run it, but you have to use the different ports. So Shankar, your question, let me just check. I think I missed it. Shankar question. So name of the tool which are used to connect like putty. So I use MOBA Exterm, MOBA Exterm. Okay, so Shankar is if something goes wrong with the container, what if the way to recovering it? Okay, so you are asking that if something goes wrong. So something goes wrong means what? Means application wise get wrong. So if the machine is if your container itself is not reachable, that is a very rare scenario. But if it happens, you can use the replication, you can use the high availability, load balancing, lot of things are there. So that you can use with the help of uh, those features of the containers or maintenance of the container. So you can recover it. I want to divert all the Facebook and Google traffic in my server. Okay, is it possible? So see, that is Facebook traffic, right? Facebook or Google traffic. So if you have some application which has the so basically we are going to access certain port. If you are able to access that port, then you can do whatever you want. Okay, the rest of the thing is the programming. So if you access the port and you want to perform some activity on that traffic, that you can do with the help of some programming language. Can we run? Are we also taking the Kubernetes? So there will not be a separate session for this. Uh, okay, so yes, so Kubernetes session will not be there, but it will be the part of the syllabus. So we are spending almost 6 hours for Kubernetes, and uh, we are going to cover a lot of things in the Kubernetes. Okay, so let me see some more questions. Yes, so this is offered, the DevOps Plus certification is offered by Cognixia. That's correct. What is the syllabus of Docker? So syllabus of Docker is basically we are going to talk about the containerization. Some of the examples I have shown you: port forwarding, Docker Swarm, Docker services. So that you will see in the syllabus, which probably shared by the support team or the consulting team. Docker is helpful not only for the freshers, Anurag. So Docker is basically helpful for the creating the infrastructure. Okay, so if you want to create an infrastructure, then you can use the Docker. Not only see, yeah. So there is a question from Shitij, and he's saying after doing a training of Docker alone, can I expect a decent job opportunity? See, Docker is a part of the complete DevOps. Docker is basically for the containerization. You need to be very good in all the tools, which is basically like your GitHub for the version control, build automation, Jenkins. Only Docker is not sufficient for getting a good job. I'm pursuing my career in data science. How can a skill Docker help me? Okay, so if you are a data science developer, then some of the implementations. See, data science field is totally different from the DevOps. In data science, you are analytical, means you are basically choosing a path of the analytical background, right? You are not choosing the path of infrastructure, but your the servers which where you are going to deploy your data science solutions, like your Python solution, your R programming language. So those things you can deploy it on some servers, right? And if you are interested to participate in the infrastructure, then you can use Docker or other tools of DevOps. When Dockers are so lightweight, why are we are still using real world machines that consumes large amount? Okay, so Amit, uh, If you remember that in the Docker Hub, I have shown you that a particular image is downloaded uh, 10 million times, right? So you will basically see now the industry is moving towards Docker only. So the traditional physical systems is kind of these we are not using long back now. Now after traditional way to use the servers means your physical servers. Now it is mostly these are replaced with the virtual machines. And now virtual machines next, or we say the next step to make it better is Docker. And Docker is already in the production means lot of it is now used industry wide. Can I treat Docker container as one system? Yes, you can. So this is a machine basically, and on this machine you can create your web server, database server, or whatsoever. Currently, which is a good option, Docker or Kubernetes? Both are required. Docker is your container and Kubernetes is maintaining your container. Okay, so the next question is, after doing just a training of Docker alone, can I expect decent job? That I already answer. What need in the skill process of work on Docker Foundation? You should have some knowledge of your virtual machine that will be helpful, but it's not a mandatory part. When we teach Docker, it will be totally from the scratch. But you should have some mindset where you know that how to install the software, how to, you know, ping. So some basic commands of Linux which you know, that will be better. What is the role of DevOps? I mean admin or developer. So it is both. So you are basically a software. You are a developer because there are some part of the DevOps where you are writing the code to maintain the infrastructure, like our configuration management tools, Ansible, Puppet, Chef. There you are going to write the code, and on the basis of that code, the entire infrastructure is maintained. So you as a DevOps engineer, you are writing that code. And admin is definitely because you are writing a code to manage the infrastructure. So infrastructure means you are working as an admin. Does people configure high availability for container? Yes, we use Kubernetes for that. Can we use Red Hat and Kali Linux instead of Ubuntu? So for Docker, yes, you can use any one of these. But in our example, I have you. So the steps may be different to install the Docker, but functionality after installation, functionality is same. So Kubernetes, so that will be the part of the syllabus, but there will not be any demo class for that after. So Kshitij, I think you're repeatedly asking that I can expect a decent job after getting just Docker training. I already answered that. Not only with the Docker, you need to uh, do the other components of the DevOps. Docker is also for, so Amit is asking, I'm using Windows 8.1. We can use Docker, and you can use the Docker on your Windows machine. But these all DevOps tools are primarily, it is made for the Linux operating system. So in our training, we are going to use Linux operating system. But if you want to use it on the Windows, you can use it. There are some uh, MSI packages are available of all of these, and that you can use it. How we achieve the high availability containers through Docker Swarm only? Yes. We can run Docker containers with Azure container instances also. Yes, you can do that. But we are not going to discuss in our syllabus. Our syllabus is on Dockers only. If you want to run it with the Docker, if you want to run it with the Azure, you can run it. We mainly use 8080 port. So if the port is available, there is no conflict because Docker is running in a separate world and host machine is a different world. So if 8080 port you cannot map, you can use, means if you want to use 8080, you can use it. If if you want to use any port, it does not matter whatever the port, you can do with the help of the port forwarding. How to check the logs of a particular image? So not the images, but we can run the logs for means what are the transactions is happening, that we can check it out. The career is very future Niduri, because as I told you, the future of IT is either data science or DevOps. Yeah, so there is a networking. So Gautam is asking, can you tell us about Docker networking? So there are different networks are available, like your host, bridge, Mac VLAN. Okay, so these are the some networks are available, but in this demo session it is difficult to explain. After doing just a training of the okay, I can explain to you. So okay, so Docker file is another concept where you can write the code and you can perform the activity, like instead of writing the commands, you can write a script. That is a Docker file, but again, that is not going to discuss in this demo. Yeah, Ratandeep, you can ask a question. What is that created value coming from when you? So that is means when the created value means when the container get created. Is Docker is an important part of cloud computing. So it's a part of the cloud computing blockchain. I don't think. So this I'm answering the questions. Ratandeep. Okay, actually, if someone's question is not answered, then please don't mind because there are a lot of questions. Okay, so can we have any Jenkins Kubernetes classes? That is the part of your syllabus. Yes, we will use GUI app as well. We'll create it. SAP, I'm not sure, Gurbir, but everything which you can run on the Linux machine, you can host it on Docker. Course content, you can just check with the support team. Docker Compose is it's a creation of the containers, and Docker and Kubernetes is maintenance of the container. Both are different tools. Do we need to know scripts? So if you have little bit programming knowledge or Linux based knowledge, that will be good, because that we are basically going to use. But if you don't have the knowledge, then actually if you have some knowledge of Linux, so prerequisite for this syllabus is that you need to know little bit Linux basic commands, and if you know the shell script, that will be good. So I know I did not answer some of the question because there are a lot of questions. So for this webinar, that's it, and hope this webinar was informative. It's not I covered only 10% of the Docker, so 90% of the Docker you will see in the course. Thank you very much for attending this webinar.